All right. The people of Ora. Okay. I think I have in two questions. I'll just go straight to important questions. The second question is, if Pa Idu is the primogeniture, it's the primogeniture of the Benin race. The children of Idu gave birth to other tribes. How come the other tribes, their traditions and language are different from Benin? That's a technical question, Mr. Christopher Jacobs. If Pa Idu is the okay, I understand what you meant. Not primogeniture by it's a progenitor. You wanted to say progenitor of the Benin race. The children of Idu gave birth to other tribes. How come the other tribes, their traditions and language are different from? They are not very different. There are more similarities than differences. All right. I'm sure that Mr. Christopher Jacobs, I'm sure that we try to bring flair, we try to bring logic into some of these questions. First is, if you had spent up to 100 years in, for example, in Italy, I'm sure your children were born there, your grandchildren were born there. There's a higher 10 possibilities that your grandchildren would not even be thinking as a Nigerian, not think about as an Edoma, because of change of environment from the central. As these people begin to move from the central, Asians are the closest to the Benin people in all ramifications, in language, in traditions, in cultures, and all of that, because they are the closest, geographically speaking. The more these people moved from the center, all right, the more these similarities begins to dwindle. The farther they moved, the farther these similarities begins to dwindle. It doesn't change the history of connectivity between these people. Most times, it's even for some of us that have scientific background, you get to understand that the environment plays a very important factors in the growth and thinking, all right, of the people that grew up in a particular environment. So as these people moved from their original environment or their original place of ancestry, they begins to imbibe other environmental influences begins to play in from other members that might have or might not have had similar culture with their ancestry. All right, so I think basically it's usually a general answer for for that kind of a question that you've asked. I'll be very brief in explaining some of these things. I'm sure I've been able to just give an highlight. All right, maybe you can paraphrase and be more specific, so I can also give specific answers to your questions. From Omoyegi, say, is it true that the people of Ora do not bow to the Oba of Benin? Well, I think I've answered this question maybe over a year ago. So when I saw the article, Well, it is true, it is false. It depends on understanding. I think I said, I don't know whether I've given. Okay, let me, in an attempt to answer your question, Omorige said, there was this event I was told by a very close ally of Chief Ebon, during when our present Oba of Benin was the Daiken Atuselu. Chief Ebon went to visit him. All right, went to pay an homage to him as a Daiken of Oselu. When he was about to get to Chief Ebon's turn, some of the chiefs, not really knowing who Chief Ebon was, or probably never have met with him, or not to have understood that Ebon understands the tradition of the land in its entirety, had made an attempt to educate Ebon on what he will do when he gets to the presence of the Edaiken. He was told that he was to kneel down and make the normal Benin salutation to their king. Ebon laughed. He didn't say anything. After the normal greeting, Ebon greeted the Oba without kneeling down. He only stood and, alright, and greeted him like this. He didn't kneel. Alright, so when he was now coming out, the chief, one of the chief, overzealous chief, I might want to say, now said that who the hell is Ebon to not have knelt down to greet the Edaiken? Then Ebon now educated him. I am an high priest. High priests don't kneel to greet the Oba. They either stand or they sit on the floor to greet the Edaiken or the Oba. It's a norm. If people have been following the activities of the palace, the high priest or the priest of the kingdom do not kneel to greet the Oba of Benin. They either stand or sit on the ground, however the one that is convenient for them. It is the tradition. It's not a mark of disrespect. It's not a mark of show off. That is the tradition. Coming back to you, Mr. Omoege, said, in a bid for me to trace my ancestry to where I actually came from, after the discussion I had with my grandfather, late grandfather, I think 2 years after I had that discussion, he passed on when I was writing the book, the book of my community. So that's when I was trying to ask and all of that questions. That's when I was told that we're not naturally or actually from Igbo community in present day. I've said this story several times in Orion that we are from Evieme. Evieme, it's the heart of Benin. A lot of you know Evieme. They are by nature, all right. If the Edaiken is to become the Oba of Benin, all right, when he becomes the Oba of Benin, he sends some of his younger brothers to become dukes of some of these dukedoms, and the rest, in the old times, the rest were asked to stay at Evieme. They were the princes. All the princes who are not dukes in the old were all stationed at Evieme. So anybody who is aboriginally from Evieme are Oba's sons, not daughters. There's also a quarter that was created for Oba's daughters, but the Evieme were for the princes. All right. So I was told there of this same ordeal that as the princes of Benin Kingdom, they don't kneel to greet the monarch. It is also the tradition. So if the Ora people sees themselves as direct children of Oba Ozolwa, by the level of that tradition, they are empowered traditionally not to kneel to greet the Oba. But it doesn't mean that it's being disrespectful or being out of a result of pride. It is just tradition. And it is not compelling if you decided to. If you decided not to. I've said it in several. It's not compelling on anybody. But when it happens in the monarch, when it happens in the palace, I'm sure they are going to draw your attention to why didn't you kneel down. When you're able to defend that of your buying and giving a detailed chronology, all right, of how you are a prince, the monarch, the sitting monarch, will not find you guilty of the offense of not having to kneel down, because that is the tradition. So I think I've answered your question, sir. I'm very fine now.